What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up. We're here. Let's get painting. I want to show you how to dry brush and add colors into some stone. We demonstrated this a little bit on some of these giant bases just to add a little bit of interest into some of the stone areas. We painted this guy over here on stream, and I just want to show you some tips on making some kind of interesting rocks that are a little bit more interesting than just your basic dry brushing of gray or light blue over black. And by doing that, you can do it a couple ways. You could do the grays and blues over black and then add washes. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to do some colors. We're going to do some greens, so there'll be some kind of green undertones. And then I'm going to go to kind of a tan and then an off-white with this Pallid Witch Flesh. So we got Goblin Green, Ogren Camo, Rackarth Flesh, and Pallid Witch Flesh. And let me see if you can see it. It's kind of similar here on this monkey. You can see there are, I don't know if you can really see it totally, but there's some colors in the dry brush of the stone, and then I went back in with some thin brown wash. Same with on his fur, just to kind of reinforce some shadows. So from far away, he looks a little more, I kind of painted in the cast shadow of his arm here. And it's not maybe the best thing you ever seen, but it just adds some interest. When it's on the table, it looks pretty good. And the stones here on the bottom look pretty good. So this is kind of a fun, fast thing to do. And we'll get started. This guy is like a Reaper Bones rock golem or stone golem. I'm definitely going to just put him up for sale on eBay when I'm done painting him because he'll look pretty good. And people use these kind of things in their Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop fantasy games. So here we got Goblin Green from Game Air. This is a pretty green, and it's an air paint, so it's not ideal for this dry brushing, but we're actually going to use this just to get some heavier green. Hopefully he doesn't become too damp, but I'm just putting in some green splodges, I guess you could call it. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just trying to green up, if that's a word. Green up the areas a little bit. And using an air paint for this might actually screw up our plan here a little bit. But we're going to find out. Because airbrush paints are generally pretty wet. And wet and dry brushing doesn't really add up. And we lost our golem. He might not, well, maybe hold him down because dry brushing's a little rough. So we might be kicking him off quite a bit. So that's it. Just some random green splodges. Nothing special right over the black. Maybe it'll show up later. Maybe it won't. Now we got Ogren Camo, Citadel Air. I'm not washing my brush yet because I want to try to keep it somewhat dry, even though once again this is an air paint, so we're just using a piece of cardboard box here to try to really rub off our paint. You can see this brush has taken a beating. This is the same one I've used over and over and over again, and it still holds up very good. These are pretty good dry brushes. I think if you're a backer in the campaign, you'll like them. Almost everybody's been shipped, so most people have tried them. A lot of positive feedback. And if you want to pick up a set, they'll be available on eBay probably December 1st. So I'll be almost completely finished shipping the Kickstarter, and December 1st probably is when they'll go up for sale on eBay for the general public that missed the Kickstarter. And I hope everybody likes them. And they'll have a lot of options too. You'll be able to get them with the whole set of ghost brushes. You'll be able to just get the dry brushes. And I'll probably make a few other type listings. So now what I'm doing is I'm just adding this kind of Ogren Camo green. It's wetter than I would like it to be, but we're going to make it work. So we're just scrubbing it in dry brushing it, mostly in downward motions or perpendicular to details. And once again, we're not making a green rock here. We're just trying to add some interest in the shadows. Make sure you try to get your brush and like roll it underneath like armpits and stuff, just so those don't stay completely black, unless you want them completely black, of course. So this is just basically, we're trying to create an underpainting. So he's got kind of this green vibe going. Now, we'll let him dry for just a second while I talk. We're going to go with this Rackarth Flesh. This is a really great Games Workshop color. Both of these colors are really, really good. They usually dry and get real funky, but especially this one, I think when I open it, it's going to look completely corroded. But I love these two colors. If you buy Games Workshop paints, or don't buy Games Workshop paints, and you want a couple colors to try out, definitely get Rackarth Flesh, Pallid Witch Flesh, and then also pick up Celestra Gray and Bugman's Flesh. And you get some really nice Games Workshop colors. Now let's check out how... Oh, it's not too bad. You can see it's getting pretty chunky in there though, which is unfortunate. I actually have a brand new pot of this. I accidentally bought it again, but I'll need it eventually. But there's still plenty of use out of this. So I still haven't washed this brush. As long as you're scrubbing, your paint off your brush onto your model, scrubbing it into the cardboard, wiping it off on your hand, you can go quite a while without having to wash these. It's if there's a lot of paint in here and it dries, you're going to ruin the dry brush. But beating it up like this with dry, like thin leftover paint from dry brushing is not really going to damage it. So I'll rinse it off at the end, but we're just going to go with the same brush. And then maybe we'll switch to the little guy here. This is the size 2, this is the size 1. Maybe we'll switch to this one at the end. I don't even know if we'll need to. He's a pretty low detail Reaper Bones model, so we might just stick with the big one. And I'm intentionally mixing this on top of the colors. So here's the dark green, here's the lighter green, and here's the new kind of gray flesh color. And I'm doing it on top just in case there's a little bit of green pigment or color that I can pick up when I'm scrubbing the paint off into my cardboard here. Just in case it mixes a little bit, it'll blend this layer a little bit more. It'll just make the color harmony a little better. So here we go. Hopefully you can see he's already turning more stone looking, but there's more interest than just a stone model here. He's got these kind of green hints in some of the shadows. You're not sure maybe what stone he's made out of. If you're going for a specific one, that's not ideal. But if you're just going for, the random nature of stone, then why not play with some colors? And we'll see. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe I'll throw a few washes in on him, and we can play with that idea too. But this one is being shot as a video and not a stream, so I'm going to try to keep it relatively short. But I want to make sure it's clear, and you can see in full time here, simply because I do not know how to edit a video. I know how to make a darn good paintbrush, synthetic, good price, quality product, but I don't know how to edit a video at all. So bear with me. Hopefully this is mildly entertaining, especially if you want to learn how to use your new dry brushes. So there we go. We got, already he's not bad. One thing, I'm probably going to try and get a little bit in these areas where his traps meet his chin and collarbones. The size of my brush here is actually missing those areas quite a bit, which is fine, but I think I want to actually make sure I get those. So we're going to kind of go down into that area and just try to make sure we get some paint. And actually now too, if we went back and dry brushed again with this color, we would add a lot of interest, because now it's going to be less green showing, more of that color showing. So the more layers you do, and heck, maybe we'll just do one quick one on some of these areas. So this is a quick other dry brush to add more of this kind of brown tone into it. So we got the greens that we used first. Now we're knocking out this kind of really gray brown with the Rackarth Flesh. I mean, any green would have worked in the beginning. I literally just grabbed this one because it's right there. And it looked kind of neutral. It wasn't, I mean, you don't want to go super vibrant. Like I wouldn't want to go with this green, which is like almost neon green. Okay, so there you go. You got him. He's already not bad. If you want your little stone guy. Next, we're going to jump to Pallid Witch Flesh. This one's basically off-white. This might be a stark jump here. So to just be careful, I'm going to load the brush here, but I'm really going to make sure, I mean, you can hear that, I hope. I'm scrubbing off the paint. Sometimes you spin it. You can see that, and you spin it. Make sure if there's any little wet pockets of paint in there, we're going to get those off, because when you're going to this light of a color, you want the dry brush to be a little more subtle. And we're going to just try and pick out some highlights on him by doing downward. So this is, I'm only going down. So brush on, down, off, up, back on, down, off, up, but I'm doing it fast. Here, where you can see he has like this decorative stripes, I'm going to go this direction just so I can pick up those raised areas. The legs, because of the shin bone and the toes, I'm going to go left to right just to make sure I get the toes and the legs. Same with over here in the back of the legs and the back of this kind of skirt. And you can see it's already picking up pretty nice highlight. It's not bad at all. Back here, so back on him, I'm touching him. Let's see, from the side. So brush, touching him in the back of the head, pulling it down, and then away. That's how I'm going to hit the arms and the back muscles. On this kind of circular spot on the back of the head, you could go left to right. That's fine. You know, the side of the head, you could go touch, down. The point is I'm never brushing upward, right? I'm not touching it and going up, because I want him to be dark from below and light from above. So hopefully you can see he looks almost like he's lit maybe by sunlight, or maybe there's a torch above his head, something. It generally just pays to consider the light is always from above, especially for speed of painting, for zenithal priming, for everything, for dry brushing for sure. Now if you were going to do some light from below, you'd have to think of like OSL, lava base or something, but usually that doesn't look all that great in my opinion. And it's certainly not a quick, easy stone golem type paint job. That's something a little more advanced. And we're just trying to knock out a good looking D&D encounter, basically. So once again, I'm only going down, 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 side, 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 side. But never up. Never touching the model and brushing upward. I want this shadow, you know, this band on his arm to cast the shadow, and to do that, you stick with one direction of dry brush. And be consistent on your model. And the only places we're changing is just based on the form. So here we can go, basically I'm going down this way just to get the cheekbone and whatever his kind of Frankenstein ear is. He's got kind of Frankenstein bolts. But even then, I'm going from the back of the head forward and down, but never from the front of the face back this way, because I don't want to put any light under his chin, under his cheekbones, if possible. I mean, this is loose, so the dry brush is going to do what the dry brush is going to do, and we're using this nice big one. And there we have it. That's not too bad. Hopefully, I mean, you know, he's not the most award-winning stone golem you ever seen, but for a quick, nice stone, this could be great for doing bases, for an army, doing, rock monsters for anything. Perfect. So now is when I'm going to rinse the brush. I have literally a dark pool of water here that I dump my airbrush into. I clean it every so often. And you can go with your paper towel, or I got one of these cheap rags from like a hardware store that I think mechanics use. And really, I mean, you can hear that, right? I'm scrubbing it out. Look how much paint we got out, even though we weren't putting all that paint onto this guy. And it's actually still green, right? Like, we're getting some green paint, whereas this guy's not nearly as green as he once was. And a rinse and a really good scrub. I'm really working it in there. Hopefully you can hear the brush scrubbing onto that. So look, that's one wash, or one rinse and scrub, one second rinse and scrub. Swish it around. And this should be all we need. Third rinse, third scrub. There you go, check that out. So first scrub, second scrub, third scrub, that's clean enough. That'll be soft once it's dry. And it's gonna hold, let me get a cleaner glove. You can see it's holding. I mean, you get a little bit of fan because I'm really beating it, but that's beautiful. I've used this brush so many times. I think I have like 20,000 of these because I am the creator of the Kickstarter, and I've used the same one over and over again. I've never had to use a different one. And then even this guy here, yeah, they're gonna get stained up. They start out pretty and white, but even the staining, like, they just hold up. They're really nice. So that's all we got for him. If you stuck around this far, hit the like button for sure. Comment if you like the video. But if you want to see a little more, let's see if we can't bump up a little bit of interest. Maybe there's like some moss, or maybe a little bit of like, I don't know, plant life or mold growing on them. I have no idea if this is a good idea or not, but we're going to go with dark green Vallejo wash. And we'll just put one drop in there. And then I'm going to take a drop of flow improver. You can do flow aid, water, airbrush thinner, contrast medium, whatever you like. And I'm going to go to... We don't need anything special for this. So let me just show you what about one of the baddest brushes I have. This brush is just, your generic craft brush. It's taken a horrible beating. Almost all the hair is, completely bent and dried. But what we're doing here is just loose painting. So there's my flow improver plus my one drop of green, dark green wash. And let's see what that looks like on our thing. Not bad. So I'm just going to selectively decide where maybe some of this moss is growing. So maybe it's on the belt here. A little bit. Maybe in this like neck area. Maybe that's where some of the moss is growing. That way we can add I'm not going to do both sides. Well, I'll do both sides. It's still pretty dark in that area, so adding a little bit of green over that darkness is not going to make a huge effect on the model. But it adds a little bit, Now it does, there's a little hint of green on that black, so. And you can just stipple this on, maybe around the knee, on the calves, maybe in the feet a little bit. I didn't really do anything with the feet, so a little bit of green. And this is subtle, right? I thinned down this one drop of wash. I wasn't trying to re-dry brush the whole guy. I'm just trying to add like in the crevices, and not even all of them, just like here on where his back, and he's got this deep recess, maybe like some moisture. Had some plants grow in that area. Maybe under his belt there, a little bit down these things. And that's it. I mean, that's how you take something, maybe a little bit on the top of the head, just on the side here. Why not? A little interest there. And, you're just taking something as simple as a rock stone golem. No detail. You don't have to paint out a skirt or anything. and you got a pretty good looking model. And then we're going to do the same, right? You can just paint this brown and dry brush it. You're going to want to be a little careful around his feet, but it's easy to fix. If you get it brown on his feet, maybe his feet are picking up dust from the base, or go back with your lighter color and just hit the feet again. And that's it. We added a little bit of green back into the shadows. It all makes sense because we started with some green in the shadows. All in all, he's come together. He looks pretty good. And you watched it real time here. That was fast and easy. You couldn't screw it up. Ghost dry brushes, December 1st on eBay. Pick them up. Link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're thankful, hit the thumbs up. It helps out the videos a lot. If you have painting groups you're a part of, go ahead and share it. And most importantly, comment down below if you want to chit chat with me, because I'm here. It's a hobby with you guys. So let's talk painting. Adios.